What are we doing, Taurus?
Regretting my life choices. We are doing a clutch install on a 2017 Honda Civic EX Boosty Boy for our good old pal Tucker. Yo, bro, you trying to get the fucking sauce?
Shout out to CJ.
What's up, guys?
For
start the video, Tucker.
We've already started the video. Thanks. Shout out to CJ for letting us, and his boss. Thank you, CJ's boss, for letting us use this space. We got a lift and probably all the tools we need, but we brought tools anyway. So
we're gonna go ahead and get the airbox out of the way, battery, any wiring connectors that are in our way. We're gonna go ahead and unplug those, just get everything ready before we lift the car up, so we don't have to get a ladder.
Alright, so while Eric is taking care of the battery and all the intake stuff, we're going to go over here to the steering column, right by your pedals. As you can see, there's going to be this little plastic cover right over it, and that just pops right out. There is a 10mm bolt, oh crap, right there. So when you do this, just be sure to get the light on it. It's already marked, but you want to mark exactly the position of where this is so it doesn't go back on crooked. There already is a factory little blue line right there, so we're just gonna have to line that up afterwards. You're just gonna get your little 10mm wrench and break that loose, and it comes out pretty easy. And then basically this whole steering column will just pop out right there.
all right, so we're taking the airbox out, we're taking the battery out.
Next thing we are going to do is we are going to take the slave cylinder out. Just stick the bolts back into the holes. After you do that, the slave will be loose, and we're just going to put that shit to the side. Alright, so now that we've got most of the stuff out of the way on the top, there is two 12mm bolts holding in the shifter cables. I don't know if you can see, but there's one right there on the underside of this bracket, and there's another one right up top, and then you're just going to pull these little pins out, and so you can disconnect the shifter cables, and that whole assembly will come out in one piece. So it turns out there's actually 3 bolts. There's one right here on the front side, then there's one on the lower back, and then there's one going down into the transmission. So it's 3 instead of 2. So after you pull the 3 12mm out for the shifter cable bracket, you're gonna get rid of these pins.
Speak up. What? What do you want me to say?
After you take the 12mm,
stop shouting.
You're gonna take out these pins right here, put your pick, pull that out, and they will pull out, and you should be able to just lift these shifter cables up and out the way.
I need to change those bushings eventually, but yeah, that's this. Yeah, it's the same idea when you're changing out the bushings. There are a lot of videos online about that too, but yeah, those pins are important, so.
We're missing clips everywhere here.
Not surprising, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
Here's part of this fucking wheel well.
We are taking the under tray off so we can access underneath the transmission and the motor.
Okay.
So, starter.
Is that from?
Yeah. That.
Where's that coming from?
Oil.
I got that part.
Cracked fucking oil pan.
No, those are casting flaws.
No, that is cracked right there.
That is cracked. Yeah, but
no, that's.
I'm not sure that's where it's coming from. I'm not sure that's.
That is.
It can't be blowing oil out.
It can seep out. It wasn't blowing it.
Yeah, but how would it end up over here if it was seeping out?
And you fucking moving the car forward?
Like, wait,
why would they attach the fucking axle to the oil pan? That's what I want to know.
That is a better view of, we have done nothing to any of this before. I am not launching the car. I'm only making what K-Tuner is letting me make, and this is the stock oil pan. So yeah, if you guys are making more power than you should be, I would go ahead and maybe check to see if this is happening to you too. It might just be something that's going on with me, but yeah. PSA. Well, it's a good thing to know. It's a good thing we found that. Now we can keep an eye on it at least, and be very stressed out all the time.
The subframe. So the easiest way to do this, it's got 3 17s on each axle right here where the hub is. We're gonna have to take the tie rods out, pop these out, these bolts. We've already disconnected the steering column, and that's what's gonna let the subframe come out, because the steering rack is all connected to this. Make sure you unplug all the electrical connections that go to the steering rack so you don't break anything or rip any wires. Other than that, it's pretty simple. So you got 3 17s on each side. Take the steering column bolt out. You got the 17 or 19 for the tie rods, I can't remember which, and then you're gonna have the main bolts for the subframe. So whenever you have your steering rack disconnected, you want to be sure you don't really turn this too much. It's marked, so it shouldn't be a problem when you put it back in, because everything should line up. But just to be safe, impact, bust that bitch right out.
Same thing on the other side.
I need a, hold on, I need a hammer.
I got a rubber mallet.
There we go.
Centerpiece.
Yep, so it pulls up, catches on the nut.
Fall out, catch on the nut.
We got to detach the sway bar because it's attached to the subframe.
Now what me and Eric are doing, the sway bar is connected through the subframe, so you're just going to take the sway bar nuts off, and these are just 2 17 millimeters, one on each side. Pop that relatively easily.
So we're going to have to take this torch mount off just because the transmission needs to come out this, well, the subframe's attached to it, and the subframe's coming out. Just 19 mil bolt, break it loose, take it out. Hopefully it clears the exhaust. Yeah. Oh, nice. It's slotted, so you can slide it up, and yeah, clever.
All right, so there's 2 17s in the front, and I think 4 19s in the back. That's 2 more right up here in the fender well. After we take these last 2 17s up to the side, as you can see, the whole subframe starts to drop. So now Eric is going to get on this side. So basically, you kind of want to do this in tandem, just so you're both supporting it. Alright, so we took out these 2 17s, and we've got the subframe resting on the 4-corner post bolt.
Right there. So what would you say to people who didn't have access to a lift that had to do this?
Go get a fucking lift. I mean, you can still do this without a lift, but it's a nightmare. So you got 17s, these are 19s, right? Dude, I got it. Just keep that one on there, and we're gonna swap guns. Alright. Oh crap, this fucking exhaust mount. So, we did not see this, but there is an exhaust mount that holds onto the subframe. And now we should be able to bring it down. Be careful that
something just fell off.
The most important thing with when you do the subframe removal is make sure everything is unplugged before you drop it down. As you saw, it kind of came down pretty quick. It's a little heavy, preferably need 2 people, but if we had say these wires attached, we could have damaged something. So, and then at this point, since the motor is being held up right now with just the mounts, we're gonna get a twist jack and just support the motor. You want to kind of do it on the corner of the oil pan just so you don't crack it. And you don't have to push it up, you just have to let it be supported so all the weight's not hanging on the mounts. And at this point, I think we're going to go ahead and take the starter out since we have easy access for it, right Eric? Yep. And that's going to be probably 17s?
Yeah, 12 ohm for that, and then 17s for those.
A little future note, we took total complete, forgot to do this, but it's always easier. There's 2 top 17 millimeter bolts for the transmission. It's always easier to do it when those cars are still on the ground. So it turns out on these cars there's only 1 upper 17. The second one you can access from the back side right there.
Yeah.
So there's one 17 coming from this side, and then there's going to be a second 17 coming from that side.
Okay.
And the important thing is just to remember where you pull all your bolts from, because they're all separate. They're different depths, and you don't want to start putting longer bolts where they don't belong.
What?
All right, so there's one more bolt on the back side of the motor that goes this way, and it's pretty much right behind the downpipe. So after you get that one bolt that's behind the downpipe, do not forget to do these 2 10 mils down here. This little cover is connected to both the motor and the trans, and I have done that one too many times where I forgot to separate this little motherfucker. Yeah, we're just gonna drain and refill the trans. It just, in the long run, you put fresh fluid in there. Ratchet, whole little square. And pull that bitch.
Mostly on Taurus.
Basically, before we can drop this jack, we're gonna try to do it without it, but you have to remove this mount bracket right here. It's just this little dampening mount. So how many bolts up top, Eric?
One. On that one, that was in the way. Yeah, now
Should be able to pull up. So what we were doing, we got rid of the top 12 millimeter on that dampening bracket, or dampening mount. And so what we're doing, we're slowly just lowering the motor and lowering the trans while keeping a pry bar under it to kind of wedge it loose. And just be careful not to damage your studs.
All right, go ahead and lower it a little more. It's on
These go on some 2 studs and 2 bolts that go on the top of the transmission. And there's a little 12 millimeter up top. Basically, if you just if you play with the height of the motor and the trans and a pry bar, you can basically pull this up to the point where you lower the transmission out, and you should be able to pull this whole bracket out without having to pull the interior piece of the dampener out. And then at that point, you're just going to double check, make sure there's no wires caught.
there you guys are.
He's just loosening whatever is remaining bracket. So you slowly lower the trans and motor just a bit. See whatever else is catching. So like this wiring harness that's on the clip over here, you can just slide, pull the tab up, slide this wiring harness off. Are you removing this whole bracket?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean there's clips on there. So at this point, you just double check everything, make sure. And now we're gonna go ahead and finally remove the bottom 3 bolts. So it's gonna be 317. Go ahead. So after we've separated the transmission, we're going to slowly lower the trans, make sure not to catch anything.
Emphasis on slowly.
Emphasis on slowly, you don't want to damage anything. Clutch kit, so you've got your pressure plate. This is your clutch alignment tool right here. Pretty much the same for all Hondas, and this goes basically through your friction disc, through the pressure plate, and it just lines up with your pilot bearing, and that's what centers this properly, or centers the friction plate on it properly. Clutchmaster actually did supply 6 new pressure plate bolts alignment. You've got your throwout bearing, and this is the new flywheel that's going on. Before you start swapping stuff out, make sure all this stuff matches up. Because you might have ordered the right parts, but they might not have sent the right parts.
Yeah.
So it's just a better safe than sorry scenario.
Also, double check that you got what you ordered before you start disassembling anything.
Right, that way you can send it back in the box. So this is the Clutchmaster single mass flywheel. I think the difference between the weight is like 20 pounds from dual mass to single.
It's 10.
10?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so my Accord, it went from 36 pounds to 15 pounds. Pressure plate, and he's taking out the flywheel bolts right here. Alright, so now when you do pull these flywheel bolts to the last bolt, be careful, these are very heavy, and yeah, and you can hurt yourself. It shouldn't, but it can. Alright, and that's the factory flywheel out.
And look at that, this hot spot, it looks crazy.
Is it really?
Yeah. See those dots?
Yeah.
And like right there. Hot spot the shit.
So you can see all these hot spots, basically where the clutch lays over. The clutch really is brand new, ain't it? I mean, like,
yeah, you got but what, 15,000 miles or something?
Exity OE.
We're gonna keep it in case something happens.
Don't say that. Good force of habit just to have is to clean off the flywheel surfaces. 'Cause sometimes they oil them up just to prevent rust and yeah.
Making sure that gear's the same.
Yeah, the gears are the same. To make sure they are indeed deep enough. If they come out the same depth, so that probably comes out. We'll just use something to gauge it with.
Comes out that far.
That far. Okay. Put these back over here. Comes up same distance.
Good job, Clutchmasters.
Good job, Clutchmaster. So we're just gonna put a little dab of red Loctite on one of these bolts just to get it started. So we're gonna make sure these lines, or the stuff is lined up, nice and proper. Yeah, I know. I was gonna spray it off anyway. Wriggle that up, make sure these are all threaded in. Alright, so once we've made sure all these bolts are started and gone in, we are going to slowly, in a star pattern, the same way you would do a wheel, just slowly snug these down, make sure it is in evenly. And these are going to be a 17mm 12-point socket to do this. Now, torque specs are non-existent for these motors, so get you an air impact. Ugga dugga that shit on there.
Was that Ugga Dugging right there?
No.
That's what no, that was not Ugga Dugging.
Adapter, 12.17 3/8 socket. Remember, maintain the start. Alright, so I'm pretty sure this did not come oiled, but you can go ahead and just give it a spray just to be safe. Just gonna wipe it off, brake cleaner, same story. And this is just gonna make sure there's no residual oil on the pressure plate. ICU and traction. Alright, and now on this friction disc for the clutch, there is a sticker that says Flywheel side. So this side is going to be on the clutch, or on the pressure plate, and this is going to be on the flywheel. Now what we are going to do is shove this alignment tool through here, and this is basically going to stick into the pilot bearing. And we're going to get the new bolts that Clutchmaster supplied with the flywheel. And we're going to do the same thing and just red Loctite on these. They're on their website. They do have torque specs for these. It's about 20 foot-pounds. So we'll just do like 21, 22 just to be safe with some red Loctite. The bolts that were provided with the flywheel, they are going to be 6mm Allens. Put a dab of red Loctite on. Make sure that friction disc is nice and aligned. And as always, your little star pattern for tightening and snugging stuff down. After we put these in, I'm just going to get a regular 3/8 wrench. Just going to snug them down so the pressure plate is even in there. Like I said, we are going to make sure that clutch stayed, the friction disc stays centered in there. Alright, you're going to push that your torque wrench. I feel dirty using a torque wrench. Yeah, see, I'm glad it's on video. This should come out nice and easy.
Alright, so the clutch is on, and now we're going to start reassembling everything.
Alright guys, so we got it plugged back in, just hooking everything back up, slave cylinder back on, sensors, all the sensors, the shift cables go back on. Reassembly, we don't need to show you all the steps, it's just the reverse of disassembly.
Alright, we are at the near end. We're lowering the car now, and we're going to...
Show that the undertray's back on.
We're going to... We put the under tray back on. Eric's gonna drop it down and back it out. He's gonna do the honors first time.
episode of doing free shit for Tucker. Alright, so we appreciate you guys for watching. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. It's really not that bad of a job. We went in there kind of blind and we got it done in like 4 hours, 4.5 hours. Hopefully this made it a little bit easier for you. As always, like, subscribe, invite your friends. Hope you enjoyed the video. Eric, we should kill Tucker though.
We should. No moss.
No thanks.
No moss.